Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. We are going to give another installment of our 5 book series on the Black Swan. So this is actually book 4 of 5 in Reflection 197. And I'm excited to talk about the Black Swan today. So what do you got for us, Chris?
Yeah. So this is a reflection 4 of 5 of one of my top 5 favorites, of the Black Swan, The Impact of the Highly Improbable by Nassim Taleb. Just a recap about the Black Swan. It's a book about the impact of the highly improbable. So highly improbable events that are the outliers in society of the bell curve. I guess the 2 points that are like on the ends of the bell curve, right? And how those two those events that nobody ever expects that happens actually are the ones that are the most transformative and truly actually push us forward in society. The little tiny events that happen around the median, don't really change anything of the course of the day, but the ones that are those true outlier events, those are the ones that just dramatically change the way that everything is seen. So this book in particular, is just one of my favorites, and I know it's one of your favorites, and something that really got me thinking a lot. And I personally love the author too. I mean, I think he's a very provocative author. It makes you think. He's got a soul in the game, if you will. I know it's something he says in another one of his books, where he truly believes in the impact of the highly improbable and the impact that it plays on his life, and he spends a lot of time writing and thinking about it, and you can tell, and that comes across in his work, and it's entertaining and also provocative, and also at the same time, it just gets you thinking. It gets your brain thinking about stuff that you don't really think about very often, and it's just one of those books that I personally love. So
And I would say that's a Black Swan event in its own way.
yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, you don't find me finding this book was a Black Swan event in my own life in a weird way, and actually this is what this is about. It's the title of this reflection is all about. It's all random. So um I got to take us back to before you and I ever met. This was in the weeks and the early weeks and months after Amelia had passed away, and most of my days were spent well in a lot of pain, but mostly spent asking a lot of questions around, like, why did this happen? I mean, most of the time, I remember taking our nightly walks every night with my wife and I, just in silence next to each other, and I don't know what she was thinking about, but I knew what I was thinking about, and it was, how did this happen? Like, why did this happen? Like, why is our family going through this? Why did they take a meal? I mean, there's just so many questions about, you know, why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that, or why didn't I make this happen, or why didn't I have this happen, or how did this, like why did a tiny little innocent baby deserve this? Like, I mean, just a lot of things that, like, you're not supposed to think about. But I couldn't help but think about it, because that was all that was on my mind every single day, all day long, right? And this particular book, you know, unfortunately, I spent a lot of time and energy on this topic, and I just remember vividly, I can see myself just walking around my neighborhood, just staring off and thinking these things as I'm walking. A lot of times when I would go on these walks, I would listen to a book, and one of the books that I would listen to, and like an audiobook, it happened to be this book. And this was maybe a few months after Amelia had passed away. It was before I met you too, so it was in between, like, it wasn't immediately after this. This was probably, it wasn't immediately after Amelia passed away, but it was probably like maybe 2 months or so in. So I'd already been exploring and curious and asking a lot of questions, and then I came across this book, and one of the things this whole thing is all about is it's all random, right? Like, life's all random. And I had this aha moment as I was walking one day, and just kind of all clicked. Like, I was like, man, it's all random. Like, everything that happened to Amelia was random. There was no answers to these questions. Like, there was no reason why this happened. There was no anything deeper beyond this happened, right? Like, this was an event that happened, and even though I didn't want it to happen, I would rather have my wife here, my daughter here with me. Like, it wasn't her fault, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't her doctor's fault, it wasn't her nurse's fault, it wasn't Felicia's fault, it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just an event, and I don't even know that God has control over these things a lot of times, to be honest with you. I think he may have designed this whole system to be completely random, and so he can kind of take himself out of it and let it all work itself. It's all work itself out, you know. And like that's kind of the beauty of life. There is no blueprint. It's flawed, and it's flawed. Uh, um, or sorry, there is no like blueprint to life. It doesn't make sense. There's no linear connection. There's no, well, this happens and this happens and this happens, and it doesn't run on design. Like we love order and consistency in our brains, but like that's not how this world works. Like this world runs on chaos, and it runs on randomness, and randomness is not, you know, it's not flawed, actually. Ironically, like randomness always finds a way to work itself out in the end of the day, and propelling life forward in one way, shape, or form or another. And for me, like this was just a huge aha moment. It was relieving almost to know, like, I don't know, it felt freeing. It freed me from the burdens of kind of like the shackles of walking around all the time thinking like, why wasn't I there that Friday that Amelia, you know, got sick again when the doctors came around to check her, and you know, and why couldn't I have been there to be that person that was there to check on her a little bit more frequently, or to question the doctors more, or, you know, why didn't I take my wife to the hospital like the day before, you know, when Amelia was born, when she thought, you know, she expressed some discomfort or something like that, and we didn't know what was wrong or anything like that. Or why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that? I don't know. There was something there. There's like, it's like you're chained when you're trying to find answers to stuff that there is no answers to. And like this particular thought of it's all random was kind of freeing to me. I mean, it was like I could just forgive like myself. I could forgive everybody like that was involved in this whole entire thing, and you know, and kind of just say, okay, I get it. It's random. Like it wasn't anybody's fault. There is no dissecting that can be done that will help change anything. There is nothing that anybody could have done. There's nothing that anybody will be able to do in the future. It just is what it is at this point in time, and I have to accept it and figure out how to move forward with my life. You know, that's kind of, you know, where I'm at today, I guess. You know, I after I really kind of released myself personally from the idea that life has some order and consistency, that I had some control over it. It was a way for me to kind of reset myself at ground zero to say, okay, well, knowing that is the case, like, how do I move forward in this life, you know, with you know, any sense of purpose, and make this world, you know, the best I can make it myself. And that's when, you know, I started to really dive into the idea of values, and you know, inspired by my daughter, and trying to figure out, you know, how she did it. And then that's been what I've been on this journey ever since. And then along the way, I meet, you know, people like yourself, and, you know, everybody else, and you know, the rest of the story from there. So for me personally, this particular book, this particular lesson was one that I'll never forget, just because I was like, man, you know, it was just, it freed me from the burdens of a lot of the stuff that was going on in my mind, and allowed me to regain my curiosity and my own, you know, imagination of, okay, well, if this is the case, then how do I move forward in life, you know, and how do I find a way to still live as the best life that I can live in honor of my daughter. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so sometimes an answer is no answer.
Mhm.
Right? And I
Right.
think having the ability to understand that allows you to move on. And you know, the act of randomness is basically a design for us as human. Because you think about, you know, if we know stuff, let's say you play a game with, you know, with somebody, and you know exactly how this person is gonna play, and you know how to beat that person, you won't have any fun. I don't know why, but that's
That's true.
just the way that we feel.
Yeah.
So we, like I said before, you know, we have a need to explore and discover. So I guess the joy of finding out something new makes us want to continue to go forward. If you don't have that discovery gene in you, then most people just don't survive. They don't have anything to live for. And so I think like that's one of the, I guess, the pros and cons of this random world. And the world is random because it allows the world to continue to you know, spin and revolve and make life go forth the next day and next day and so forth. And so that's why, it's a double-edged sword, because you can't say, well, I'm gonna give human a reason to make progress, but at the same time, allow them to understand everything. So it's like it's a head and tail. You can't have both, right?
Right.
Either it's a head or it's tail. So the randomness, like I said, everything in itself is both a pros and a con. Right? You can't say, hey, tall is better, or you can't say short is better. Because it's certain situation where there's advantages to being short,
Yep.
and there's a certain situation where advantages to being tall, and vice versa. And so that's the thing, is that's the beauty of life in general. It allows you to have a lot of combinations and permutations to discover. When you play tennis, for example, we talked about this in the past. When you play tennis, right, you are playing for like 10 years, 20 years, and you still having fun, because the outcome is not certain. You never know if you can beat this opponent, or the opponent can beat you, how hard he will hit, what kind of style.
You don't know what each point's going to be like. I mean, like every point
Exactly.
is different. I mean, like it's like I have a stupid little tennis game on my phone that I play every once in a while, like a little iPhone game. It's called Extreme Tennis. It's this little game is pulling up. Anyway, I have to do two moves every single time. I hit it cross court, and then I hit it the other side, and then I either win the point or I don't. But it's the same fucking play, and it's so boring. Like, I mean, after like the first like two.
That's my point, though.
I'm like, oh, I go this way, I go that way. I go this way, I go that way. Like, if that was how I had to play tennis, I wouldn't play tennis anymore. Like, an actual
if there is
real
a
life,
reason,
right.
if a reason why something happened, then it's predictable.
Right.
And it's predictable, no one would care, because to me, if the world is predictable, I don't think there is a human race, or they just say, hey, what's the point? I already know.
I agree.
It's
I agree with you.
bore you to death. Your brain refuses to function, just because, like I told you before, if your eyes is always twitching, man, that's why you have micro eye movement, because it needs to detect the differences. Because the moment your eye stands still, it turns dark, because your brain refuses to process that signal, right? And so your brain is exactly the same way. That's the only thing that fuel the humanity forward. And so
life in general. I mean, like I mean, I think life in general, like it's only, I don't, not just humanity. I think this holds. I think what you just said holds true for every,
especially for human, though.
Right, especially
because human has that boredom. The boredom, to me, is probably the worst thing you can inflict on somebody, because it gives them no will to do anything. I mean, they can suffer, but when they suffer, they say, well, maybe it's some random outcome. I mean, I can beat this. Maybe the odds against me, but there is some odds, right? And they're willing to fight, and their will continues to carry on. But if they know that there's no chance, they just give up, right? If you can convince somebody that their life is useless, more likely they're going to commit suicide, just because there's no point in it. You look at a lot of people who got everything they wanted, right? They have to go do some things to make sure they're alive, get a kick, right? Do cocaine, do drugs, go, bungee jumping, go, rock climbing or whatever, to kind of get that feelings of, hey, there is something that, I don't know. I mean, the feeling of that makes you human. I mean, you think about knowing exactly what you can do, knowing that you can beat anything. Basically the image that comes to my mind is like, I say I'm good at playing tennis.
Michael Phelps. Do Michael Phelps, because Michael Phelps can beat anybody and everybody what he does, and he's depressed.
But that's the thing,
like, this is boring. I don't want to do this all the time.
But you can't. You want to be like Michael Phelps. Just maybe yourself. But imagine your opponent is a 5-year-old child. That's what you need to imagine. Like, imagine where you are playing tennis or playing whatever you're good at. against a 5-year-old child. That's how boring it would be. Just imagine you playing a 5-year-old child, or 10-year-old child, and you hit it the hardest you can, and then she can't return it, right?
Right.
You would not enjoy that match at all. I guarantee you. I mean, you
No,
can
it'd be
try.
awful. I don't want to. A, I wouldn't enjoy it. It wouldn't be fun for me. But B, I would feel like a jerk.
But that's my point. Is there is negative feelings.
right.
It comes from knowing that you know exactly where she's gonna hit, or you know exactly how you're gonna outcome of the game, meaning you're gonna win. That takes out the fun for you, and that's the way humans are being, I guess, designed in a way, put together. That's what we yearn for. We yearn for explorations and discovery. We want the aha
Yeah.
of the moment, and without randomness, there's no aha. So the randomness in our world, to me, I believe, is actually the engine that propels life. Without that, I think the world stops.
I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. Actually, there was a book I just finished this week. It's called The Sixth Extinction. It's about basically like man, causing the next mass extinction, and there's been like 5 mass extinctions in history, and like it was a book about, it was really interesting. It was a book just about in general about extinction. One of the things that she talked about in this book though is this thing called the madness gene, meaning humans have this thing called that she labeled as the madness gene, and that was, we have this unquenchable desire to go explore and to try new stuff, and even if it's to our detriment, right? Like, I mean, traveling around to different places brings diseases, to all different places. It brings new invasive species from one continent to the other. It used to take one new species would take like 10,000 years to get to Hawaii. Like with us, like they have like 100 new species a day, because we have this insatiable like appetite to explore and go do new things and to find new stuff, and because of that, we also bring a whole lot of other mess with us and randomness that we take to other places. And when that randomness hits other places, then like ecosystems go haywire, and then you see all this shit falling apart all over the place. I don't know that it's a bad thing. I would challenge, similar to what you're saying, we are chaos agents, like in a lot of ways, like we do our part to help bring chaos and introduce more randomness into environments in a lot of ways.
If you're an agent of chaos, right, you cannot survive without creating chaos. That's just the way it is. I mean, you have to let a beaver do his thing.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, like humans are agents of chaos, I would say, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that
it is who we are. It's
right.
neither bad or good. It depends on the perspective. And from my perspective, it is not. I mean, you can argue whatever you want because that's your perspective.
Right.
You could be right and I could be right. You could be wrong and I could be wrong. So
right.
who give it? That's the thing is no one knows. It is for us to make sense of what we see. And sometimes, we don't have to agree on it, but it doesn't mean that, either one of us is wrong and neither one of us is right.
Right. I can't overstate it enough. Like the freeing feeling that I had when I was reading this book, is one of the reasons why it was so impactful for me, because I remember vividly like this exact thought of going, well, shit, it was all random. Like, I mean, this wasn't just like some targeted attack on Amelia, like this it sucks, but like, this just happened, right? Like it is just like there was no blame to go around. There was nobody for me to point my finger at. There was nobody to get angry at. There was nobody to get, upset about. Like, but like, so it's a double-edged sword. What you said earlier, I think you're spot on with your thoughts in general. But like, here's the double-edged sword, because you said if somebody thinks that this is all there is, then why even be here? Just kill yourself, right? If it's all random and you have no control and blah 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 blah, like then why are you even here? Well, that was.
But that's the point, though. That's the point, though. You are agent of chaos, and chaos is what you want. And so right. So the thing is, it's aligning
chaos what
with
you want. Like chaos.
Yes, you do.
This chaos isn't what I wanted. Like, I mean, like.
Well, they're always chaos that you don't want, but chaos is what you want. Like let's say I have a sword, right? The sword, I want a sword, right?
Well,
but
hang on. Let me finish my thought really fast, and then because maybe I'll answer it and as I was going. So if everything is random, right? Like, and we have no control over anything, like for me that was a freeing thought. But then I thought, okay, well, that can't be it. That can't just be it, right? Like, there's got to be some semblance of control that I could exert over my life. And to say, like, look, I may not have control over anything else, but like in my life, there's got to be some semblance of control that I can exert to make sure that I ensure that I myself am moving forward and with a meaningful purpose, that I can make sure that I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like that was the second thought of all this stuff, right? So while I acknowledging the chaos exists, trying to find a way to center myself in that chaos is the way forward, right? Like that is what we've been doing, right? Like that is everything. Like that is the balance, that is all the stuff, right? Like it's trying to be the eye of the storm, right? Like you don't mind the storm, you acknowledge that the storm is going on all around you, but like finding a way to anchor yourself as that eye in the storm is everything, right? Like because like that's how you pick up, wake up every day and decide to go try again, because that you're moving somewhere with the storm, but you're going with the storm. You're not fighting the storm anymore. You're now moving forward together. Yeah, I don't know. Like that was what I was getting at. So sorry. Now go from where you want to go from there.
Right. I think that's the. I mean, in a sense, when you have something you want, right? You can have too much of it. Every single thing has both pros and cons, have both positive and negative. And so the thing is, we want chaos, but we want, in a way, chaos that aligns with what we want versus chaos that what we don't want. And so, because we want chaos, but the caveat is you cannot control the kind of chaos you would create. So let's say I want to discover some new species. I want to bring plants to Hawaii, right? I want to only do the good thing. But you cannot help but also bring in the invasive species, just because that's just one act has two sides. One coin has two faces. That is the nature of nature, right? And to put that right, one object has two faces. That's one thing. So you're talking about every single object, every single thing in life, in the universe, always has two faces. Everything has its pros and its cons. Like I said, you can never ever say one is better than the other. It's not possible, because every single coin has two faces. And also the next thing that I want to add to this hodgepodge of things, this is a wicked environment, like we mentioned before, quote unquote wicked environment. It's not something that you can predict. So they are not just agent of chaos. They're not just randomness. There are going to be multitudes of different variables that play into this, whole cauldrons of life. If you look at it, so
Right.
It's not one thing that, hey, if I can only do certain thing, then I'll be okay. I want this, but it's like I want to cook, but at the same time, I could cook something that's good, or I can cook something that's bad and get a stomachache, right? And so that's just the way it's supposed to. That's the way it goes. There's always chance when you start to cook something for a hearty meal. You could also inadvertently, there's a chance for you to cook something that is terrible and bad for you, even kills you, right?
That's one of the reasons why we have such a varied diet, because we took a lot of chances on random shit to eat, and we were like, oh well, this killed that dude, this killed Carl, but that one didn't kill Stan, so let's eat that one, everyone. And then but Carl's dead,
but you get my point though, right? Every single act, like one single act, has multiple outcomes. So yes, chaos is what we want, but the chaos that comes to you, it wasn't the kind of chaos you want. Right. If you get my point. But thing is, what drives us could also kill us. A sword, like I say, a sword could protect us, but it also kill us. Right? It's just the fact of life. The fact of that, one thing could turn on you the next minute. The table, like you say, the table have turned or whatever, the phrase that we use. It's just that you can't have one without the other.
But standing still is not an option, like either. Like, I mean, like I think the one thing that you and I can both
even
agree on
standing still,
is,
it has two faces, right?
well,
So
that's what
everything
I
has,
mean. That's what I'm saying. Is like standing still isn't even an option. Like it's
it's an
like if we
option
no, well, I mean it is an option, but like
because
it's
the option is you die.
right, exactly. Yeah, I mean
Because
I think
hey, life is so boring, right?
right.
What's the point, right? You will die. You put it like let's imagine you live in a place where there's nobody, and you know the thing is people can survive on a desert island for a long time because there's a hope that they know there are other people out there. But if you're on a desert island and you know somebody convince you that you are the only one on Earth left,
Yeah.
you're the only. You can't survive that long.
No, not at all. I
You
mean
just don't have the will
yeah.
for it.
No, this other in that same Sixth Extinction book, it was actually really interesting. I think you might actually find it interesting. I would check it out if I were you. I just know how your brain thinks. I feel like that would be something you'd be interested in. They talked about this psychology experiment they did between monkeys and humans. This goes back to what we learned from that Jonathan Haidt book, The Righteous Mind, about like, you'll never see two monkeys ever like working together on anything. Well, they did like these intelligence tests with like 4-year-old children and like monkeys. The monkeys like killed the kids in creativity, ingenuity, like problem solving on their own, right? The biggest difference was when one of the kids figured out something, all the other kids figured it out after that one kid figured it out, and they socialized that answer very, very fast. The monkeys didn't do that ever. The monkeys were like, I'm doing my own, I'm solving my own shit. Like I don't cooperate with other people. I don't mirror what somebody else is doing. Like we collectively learn, we're not as smart as even a monkey. Like, but but they're more intelligent on an individual level. We are more we are more intelligent on a collective level. So to your point about like the whole,
well, we're not intelligent on a collective level. Collectively, we're more than one, because when you compare 10 humans, like 10, let's say you give a monkey of a rating of a 5, right? Each monkey has a 5 rating of 10 intelligence, and each human has a rating of 1. But 10 ones is going to beat, right, a 5 any day, right? And the thing is, because human they group together, so their intelligence combine and adds up as the monkey, and even Neanderthals, they do this. They don't cooperate. So therefore, you go and fight one at a time, and you just beat them up, and you make them extinct. Right. You basically, that's the gene that compels us to have
books about
the meaningful relationship, right? The meaningful relationship is the gene that you have to express. As a human species, as a Homo sapien, you have to express that gene. Like I told you, you can be, hey, I'm richer and I'm smarter than Jeff Bezos. But the caveat, you can't tell a single soul. That means nothing to you. It means nothing if you can't tell a single soul the kind of achievement you have accomplished. It means nothing. It becomes sometimes that kind of bottling up the needing to say it tortures you. So that's what I'm saying is, that gene, it compels us to share.
True. Why do you think we're doing what we're doing right now? Like, I mean, like I had all this stuff bottled up in my head, and that was why I was like, I got to write some of this shit down. I mean, every once in a while I got to express it through like, mentoring and whatever else, and you and I would have some fun conversations, but like it was the dam was overflowing, and I was like, I got to get this out, like, and share it with somebody. Somebody's going to care about this, like, which is why I started writing it down, and why we started talking about it. Because I was like, even writing it down wasn't purging me enough. I was like, I want to fucking talk to somebody about this.
But you have to tell me. You have to say, hey, true, I read this book about this mass extinction, right? It's the what you call the molecule that releases, it gives you the, hey, this feels great. I get to tell True about this. I get to tell Felicia about this. And I get to tell Luca about this, right?
Felicia doesn't care. But
well, the thing is, that's what I'm saying is, you imagine, like, even if she don't care, the act of you saying it, satisfies you to a certain level. It becomes more emotionally positive when you tell somebody and they are also excited for you,
Right.
that's when you have the maximum positive energy for the thing that you did. And
Agreed.
for
Yep.
us, that is the essence of what life makes us feels like. And so the meaningful relationship, cornerstone of company, that is the human nature. That's
Yeah.
human nature. We want to find things that we're good at and to discover that path, and we want to discover that path
And share it with somebody else.
to be able to share with somebody,
Right. Right.
to be
Yeah.
on along. And so that was the two cornerstone of human genetics. That's just
Yeah.
human nature. I mean, human has those genes, and those genes are essentially are
It's our
responsible.
phenotype, you know. It's like our expression of our genes is our phenotype, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's our phenotype. I mean, like that's what that is us beavering on purpose, is discovering new things and sharing with people, you know. And like, yeah, I mean, that's what we do. But like, to your point, like, it is all random. So you know, and that's a good thing, in a lot of ways, because the randomness allows us to discover new shit all the time, and then we can share it with more people, you know. So it feeds the beast, you know, all the time. And that's good, like, because the randomness is the engine that allows you to go forward. Now, what do you know, like, you know, anchoring yourself in the middle of that randomness is important, I think, you know, personally. So you can understand what's going on around you, right? Like, this is what you were just
Right.
talking
There's
about,
going to
like,
be randomness that you want, and there's some
right,
randomness that you don't want. So you have
exactly,
to make sure that I need to be able to tell, is that the randomness that I want?
exactly,
Because so that's the decision you have to make, right?
right,
You can't control what comes to you, but you can control what you do with it.
right,
Because if something comes to you and you hang on to it, well, it's gonna stick to you. If you let it go, it's gonna let go. And so when you are going to say, well, the randomness, oh, there's somebody's fault that this happens to me. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe I'm supposed to pay attention, or whatever the case may be, right? You are holding on to something that wasn't core to you. It wasn't aligning with who you are. Therefore, it's become a struggle. So you have to be able to pay attention to the things that you want, because you think about like a beaver, right? What are they looking for? I'm not looking for some rocks, right? I'm looking for trees. I'm looking for branches. I'm looking for things to build my dam. So I can come around. I have probably come around rocks many times, but I just say, hey, I just walk past it.
right.
It doesn't interest me until I find another random thing. Oh, this random thing could be a flower. Oh no, a random thing could be, some frog. I don't know. Oh, random thing could be a branch. Oh, let's pick up the branch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the act of knowing who you are, knowing your core values, is what's gonna give you uh, more random.
Awareness to the randomness that you want.
Well, it's more random time with the thing, more time with the thing that becomes it randomly comes to you. So
Yeah.
you actually hold on to it versus uh letting go of something that's important to you and grabbing on something that isn't, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand from your perspective what aligns and what doesn't align. So that
Yep.
whatever that comes to you, you can decide, hey, that's not worth my time. Because it's gonna come to you. You're gonna see a rock. You can't say, hey, I don't see a rock. I mean, that's not possible because the rock, you walk along the trail, there's a rock.
Right.
You can't say, hey, I don't want this randomness. You think about it. Can you say,
Yeah.
I didn't see the rock?
Yeah. I mean, I see it happens all the time. I mean, there's a million things that I miss every single day, you know, like,
But that's the thing is you see it, but you don't process it.
right.
That's what I'm saying is once you know your core values, then the things
And
that
you start to
isn't
see it.
aligning, it becomes like
The
like
castle, like, you see the castle a little bit. You just happen to see the right tapestries that appeal to you or something like that as you're walking around with your spoon, you know, and you're like, oh, I see that. I don't see everything else, but, you know, I see the architecture. I see whatever this, you know, like, you catch little things that appeal. Yeah, I know. I think it's a really, you know, interesting visual. I mean, I'm imagining, like, just chaos spinning around you all the time. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Doop, you know, like, let's go with this, you know,
squirrel.
you know, yeah, like, well, no, in a good way, where you're like, nah, yeah, and shit's passing around you, and you're like, this. I want this, you know, versus,
Yeah.
you know, if you
Say,
are,
I don't know what I want. Let's take it. And then,
yeah.
you know, if you think about it, if you go onto this like this conveyor belt of sushi, the food or whatever at a restaurant, you know those where you know in Japan they have this like sushi train station, whatever. You could put it on the plate and it could go around. And
Right.
basically, you think about, oh, do I want what kind of sushi do I want? What kind of food do I want? You imagine that, hey, I don't know. Oh, that looks good. So you take it. Eventually, your table is gonna be full of plates that you can't eat,
Right.
and your experience of eating that restaurant is gonna be terrible because
And
I
the
guess
stuff.
90% of the stuff that you don't like,
Yeah.
you say, hey, I may like it, but
Right.
but the thing is, if you say, well, I only like a certain thing, so you only pick the plates that you want and you finish them all and say, oh, this great meal, this
Right.
meal is great. But the thing is, that's exactly what I'm saying is, you know, if you don't know what you want in life, you don't know who you are, then you're gonna pick up random things. You think, hey, it may align with what I am, then you're gonna pick it up. But the thing is, the act of picking it up, it it fills the space in front of you. It
Yeah.
fills your brain. It fills your life, right? That means that anything else that's good comes in. For one, it don't have room for it, and even if it have room for it, it become diluted by the bad thing. You
Yep.
think about it. You're not enjoying the good food or the food that you like because you're picking up so many things, right? That means that out of 10 plates, there's only a plate that you want a plate you want. That means that you only have like 1/10, you know, 1/11 of the good aspect of it. So the whole overall experience was bad.
Right.
So you think
Yeah.
about
No, I
life the
agree.
same
Yeah.
way, you know, everything comes to you. You say, oh, I do this, oh, I do that. I'm gonna do everything. But that's the thing is you don't know what it is you want to do in life or who you are in life and what is going to give you joy. Then you do everything. And then you say, well, life is kind of sucks. I mean, I do a lot of things, but I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled because, and you know, so did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah, I did everything, right? So one of the things that you did must have been good, and it was all right. Because the thing is, all of the good thing that you have, like little good thing you have, is being masked by the bad things.
Right.
So it
Yeah. No.
averages down.
Yeah. No, it makes a ton of sense. No, this is this book's always a good one to get your brain thinking. And you know, I'm certainly filling my head right now with a lot of different visuals of some of the stuff you're talking about. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really good way to look at, you know, the power of randomness, of harnessing the power of randomness, you know. And that's exactly what we've been trying to do. But, you know, once again, being impeccable with your words, trying to put words around that so other people can understand that concept, I think is important. So I know that you and I are on the same page, and this was helpful for me even further to go deeper with it. So, but yeah, any kind of like final thoughts to wrap up for the night?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing is, you have to understand what it is that is around you, and for you to say, well, life is random, and to say, well, random is not something I can control, and therefore I can't do anything. I think that's a wrong message that people get or try or misunderstood. I think
I agree.
randomness
Yeah.
is for you to know, and for you to figure out how do I use it. How
Yep.
do I use the thing that's been given to me? And randomness is one of those things, right? They can say, well, okay, it's life is randomness. What's the point of living? Or what the point of trying? What's the point of doing that? That's a wrong question. So I caution our audiences to understand what we're trying to say. You know, randomness is a good thing, right? It's not
Right.
the thing that say, hey, I have no control over anything. I think randomness has many faces that you need to understand it. Once you understand it, then you can use it for your own benefit.
Right. And I mean, I my final thought is randomness is beautiful because like I don't even know that God knows what the hell's going on, you know, like and that's okay. Like I mean, because he, she, they, them, whatever entity designed this world, they designed it with the idea in mind to have no design, you know, like and to not ever allow anybody to crack the code, you know, uh, and I
I don't
think
think
there's
there's a code to crack
well, I agree. That's what I mean.
to
There is no
begin
code.
with.
Like I agree. There is no code. There is no design. Like there is no like it is literally a no design, you know. And if you want to call it that way, I don't know.
It's
I
a
don't know.
design of no design.
Right. But I don't.
It's a
but isn't that
design of no design. It's not a no design of design.
a design of no, but yes, I agree. But at the
It's
same
a
time,
design of no design.
but that is a design though, if you call it a design of no design. So that's
It is. I said
yeah.
the answer is no answer. It's an answer. You think
Right.
about it.
It
So
is, yeah.
so you design it to have no design.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I do know. I know what you're saying. I don't know that going back to being impeccable with your word. I don't know that I know what the intention of what you're saying is. I don't know that those words would ever, if you just said
That's
that to
why
somebody,
I'm saying these
they would be
books
like,
makes you think, right?
right.
Because I said before, you know, the evidence of cancers, or the, you know, no evidence of cancer, or evidence of no cancer, that is just three word in different order. It makes a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
You think about it carefully, it's big difference. But that's the thing, is on the surface, it's exactly the same, but it's not. That's why it makes you think. So the thing is, you have to think about it. And design of no design as a design is completely two different thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and I don't even know that those are even the right words to even use in general of what you're trying to describe. I think there's other
I mean,
words
we
that maybe
only
don't
have
even,
we are limited by the words
right.
that we we conjure up and put in our dictionary.
I think there might be need to be another word that
I mean,
means,
that's why we
know,
have words like anti-fragile, right? What the
right.
hell is anti-fragile? Does anyone know what it is, right? That's why, you know,
That's why you read the book, so you
Taleb, you
understand it,
know,
right.
he had create, you know, write his book, and he say anti-fragile, but he
Right.
is describing what anti-fragile mean in that book, right? So that one word, right, took a whole book and possibly many more to describe to people what it means. So for us, we are limited by the words that we have been, I guess, formulated in the past, like design. Well, what does design mean? I mean, design means in this aspect. And so we are borrowing some word. It's not exactly kind of aligned with the meaning of
It's
the image of what
anti-design.
we.
Is it anti-design? That's what it is. Anti-design.
We're talking about matter and
Yeah.
antimatter, and, you know, black hole, and, you know, whatever. You know, it's one. It's just, we have to the impeccable with our words. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I mean,
So we gotta go. We gotta use what we have for now until we can understand a bit more, to find a better word, and to, you know, to coin something a little bit more succinct.
right, and then write a book about it so other people can understand it. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for the night. Always a fun conversation talking about the Black Swan. So,
yep. You know, and I'm glad we have one more.
yeah. No, they're always fun, right? You understand why I wrote 5 of them, don't you? Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm surprised it's only 5.
well, I capped myself, of just saying, like, all right, I'm gonna do 5, like, because I mean, to be fair, I've only read the book once, and there's only so much that you can retain on one pass through. If I were to go back and do it again, each one of these kind of like my favorites or whatever, I'm sure I would probably come up with another 2, 3, 4, additional like reflections. But for the first pass through, and just letting this stuff ruminate around in my brain, like these are the thoughts, the Dumbledore thoughts that I can extract, and what that I wanted to go deeper on, and I decided to cap myself at 5 on these particular books. So but anyway, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the next one as well. So the question we can leave for everybody is, how are you exercising your control over randomness to live a life of purpose each day? So something to think about, and hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Good night.